Hi, this is Ron Hussain at Soft, and today I'm going to demonstrate NCache high availability. In this particular demo, I'm going to start and stop a cache server node from a running cache cluster, and I'm going to show you how NCache successfully handles that without having any downtime or data loss for your client applications. Let's get started on this. I'm going to quickly set up the demo environment. For this, I've already configured a 2-node Partition-Replica Cache cluster. I've added my box as a remote client to this cache cluster. I'm going to run a client application to simulate some load on this cache. This application is going to add about 20,000 items in the cache, and once it reaches the 20,000 item mark, it will automatically start fetching and updating the same objects in the cache again and again. So let it load the cache and simulate some load. In the meantime, let me give you a quick overview on NCache high availability. NCache is based on dynamic cache cluster. It is a TCP/IP based cache clustering protocol. It is our own implemented. We're not using Windows clustering. It is 100% peer-to-peer architectured, so there will not be any single point of failures. You can add or remove any cache server node from this cache cluster at runtime. And for this, you don't have to stop the cache or any of the clients which are connected to it. So dynamically, you can make changes to the running cluster, and NCache would ensure that there's no downtime or any data loss for your client applications. Since we're using a Partition-Replica Cache for this test, let me give you details on how Partition-Replica Cache works behind the scenes. In Partition-Replica Cache, each server has 2 partitions, an active data partition and a passive replica partition of another server's data partition. For example, server 1 has its active data partition, its replica is on server 2's passive replica partition, and similarly server 2 has its active partition, replica on server 1. In case of any node failure, the replica partition on the backup server becomes activated and it merges into the active partition. So we get all the data from server 1. And if server 1 goes down, we get all the data from server 2. So NCache automatically makes the replica partitions activated and clients are notified so that they can fail over to the available server which has the data now. So there would not be any data loss for that matter. Let me actually quickly demonstrate this by stopping a cache on one of the cache server nodes. Our demo environment is now ready. I'm going to quickly stop cache on 108, and what we're expecting here, as soon as we stop the cache, we should see all the items from 107, and as you can see, we have the active partition as data partition as well as replica partitions counter as well. So we should see about 20,000 items presented from 107, and all the requests should be handled by 107 as soon as we stop cache on 108. Let's do that. There you go. So we have 20,000 items. This replica merged into the active partition, and you can see requests, all the requests now being handled by 107. So there wasn't any data loss. This is the current state of our cache cluster, where we have downed one of the cache server nodes. Clients have failed over to server 1, and server 1 has activated its replica partition into active partition. It got merged, and we get all the data from server 1. Now let's start the node back and show you how data gets redistributed and how client requests also get redistributed to the newly joined cache server node. So now we have all the items in the 107 box. If we start 108, a state transfer process would initiate and we would get all the data distributed back to 108, and requests would also be redistributed back to 108. Let's do that. I'm going to right click and choose start. This is going to start the cache, and you should see some activity on the state transfer counter here. There it is. Notice the count going down on 107 and count going up on 108 in the active partition. At the same time, replica of 108 is being formulated on 107, and similarly 107's replica is being formulated on 108. So we again have a healthy cache cluster using a 2-node Partition-Replica Cache. We have server 1's partition, replica on server 2, server 2's data partition, its replicas on server 1. And in case of any node failure, again its replica and then clients would be failed over, as we just explained. In this particular demo, we have successfully shown you how NCache handles cache start and stop scenarios, how you can take a node offline, join it back to the cache cluster without having any downtime or without worrying about any data loss on the client application side. There's some things that you can do. You can download a fully working 60-day trial of NCache Enterprise from our website. You can also contact our sales team for any personalized demos or any sales related questions. or for any technical queries, you can get hold of our support team at support@alachisoft.com. Thank you very much. Thank you for time. Have a good day.